that Untitled Goose game, and more coming up on today's episode of the latest in tech news. Hey Gadget here, you're just in time for the latest episode of the world's only 3-in-1 show on tech, gadgets, and gaming news. That's right, this is the latest in tech news. My name is Taylor American. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on the latest episode, and be sure to share this episode with a friend. That's the best way of getting the word out to those who would be interested in the news that we have to share today. Speaking of, the news we'll be taking a look at is, a hilarious article by the title of "All I Want to Do Is Create Havoc as a Terrible Goose." Yes, we'll be looking at the Untitled Goose game. More on that in just a minute. We'll also be taking a look at DARPA aiming to make networks 100 times speedier with a fast NIC upgrade. And finally, we'll be looking at the Nvidia RTX broadcast engine bringing AI enhancements to live streams. And if you're a live streamer, you'll definitely want to tune in with this. It has connections to OBS, and if you happen to use that for your streaming platform of choice, you might want to tune in and take a listen. But before we can get to that, let's take a look back on today in tech history. Alright, today is September 26th, 2019. On this day in 1973, the supersonic aircraft Concorde makes its first non-stop Atlantic crossing and sets a new speed record in the process, flying from Washington, D.C. to Paris, France in 3 hours, 32 minutes at an average speed of 954 miles per hour. The Concorde cut the old speed record in half, which at that time was incredible, and it's only proceeded to get faster from there. Now people are trying to figure out, how can I take like a space shuttle and just launch it, and then and then space shuttle flight, just go up, straight down, boom, done, roasted. I don't know. We'll find out. More news on that soon, maybe. Finally, on this day in 1924, IC pioneer Gene Horney was born. Gene Horney, a pioneer of the transistor, is born in Switzerland. A physicist, in 1959, they invented the planar process, which, combined with Robert Noyce's we've heard that name before, technique for placing a layer of silicon dioxide on a transistor, led to the creation of the modern integrated circuit, and it was quite an important achievement at the time. Horner's planar process allowed the placement of complex electronics circuits on a single chip, so you can thank them essentially for creating a lot of the technology behind what's running behind the scenes in your electronic devices that you have no clue about. So with that out of the way, let's head on over to today's feature story. Today's feature story is untitled. Well, it's about a bird. I guess a goose, if you want to be specific. By the way, if you're interested in the show notes for today's episode or any other episode, head on over to TechNewsGadget.net. And this article comes to us courtesy of Deadspin. This is hilarious. The title of the article is "All I Want to Do Is Create Havoc as a Terrible Goose." Now, I know exactly what Untitled Goose game is going for here. They're going for a short-lived fad kind of thing where, similar to the that goat game. You remember playing that goat game? I do. I made a video about it. It was quite funny and hilarious. But with a goose. However, with this goose game, you can actually cause havoc, as you can see on the screen here. Apparently, the person controlling the goose, just took the glasses off of a person who now can't see. I've also been told that you can try and steal a rake from a farmer. You can do any manner of stuff. But before last week, the author here had dabbled in video games the way a vegan dabbles at a barbecue, finding a single cucumber here or a grilled slice of eggplant there that might enjoy, but always leaving unsatisfied and hungry. They played Mario Kart as a child and Dance Dance Revolution as a preteen. Moving on. They tried for many years to love a video game. They understand the appeal. They want to forget their anxieties and struggles by immersing themselves in another world. Little did they know that Untitled Goose game might have been the answer? Well, apparently what the author liked about video games is they wanted to be told a story. They liked a narrative arc and a riveting main character. They liked to be entertained. And that is how they became a terrible, horrible, no good, extremely bad goose. They became the terrible goose before the game even arrived. They saw the trailer, saw that dumb goose pop its head out of a bush and honk, and, well, that's when the reign of terror began. The goose creates chaos. The goose does not care for rules. The goose has no interest in being responsible. No, the goose wants to swipe the pint glass from the bar in its pointy beak and waddle sneak it across the patio and out of the pub and across the street and plunk it into the canal with abandon. The goose wants to buy a Nintendo Switch, even though it does not know how to play video games, and wait impatiently for several days to download Untitled Goose Game with complete disregard for finances and solely because it likes the way the goose sounds with its beak stuck inside a glass bottle. A muffled, echoing honk. Plus, things have been a little bit stressful, so maybe I guess the goose here figured they would help out. For those of you wondering, the Untitled Goose Game came out on September 20th. It was created by some Australian company called House, who were kind enough to thank the native groups on whose land they created the game in their credits. According to real reviews of this game, it's a slapstick stealth sandbox. Apparently these words really didn't mean anything, as most of the players here, including the author, are a awful goose. All they want to do is drag the rake into the lake. All they want to do is make a lady hold a walkie-talkie and then honk into it and make her fall down. All they want to do is to walk quietly down the road with my little orange feet slapping the pavement and then hide in a box so someone will pick me up and carry me around and I can honk in their face and make them run away. It's controlled chaos, mind you. It's a kind of acceptable way of, I don't know, relieving stress. This is the opportunity to scream into the wind without worrying that someone will hear you. Wasn't that why the goat game was created? You just headbutt people and for fun and giggles? Well, hasn't this been the year you might want to throw something, or maybe college is stressing you out too much? Well, you're not alone. There's a reason why a whole bunch of stuff goes on in the gaming world, and you get goofy stuff like this from time to time. So for those of you wondering, the author goes on to explain that this game is actually quite interesting. Apparently there's a picture on the screen of an individual trying to look for a knife that you, the goose, currently has in your beak, and you're hiding out underneath a table hoping he doesn't see you because you want to waddle out the door across the street and throw the knife into the lake. Apparently you have achievements that you can get if you do certain tasks, and Untitled Goose Game is quite entertaining. I mean, after just, watching a couple review videos on Untitled Goose and now reading this article, I'm actually quite intrigued. I know why I bought the GOAT game back then. It's because I wanted entertainment, and it was quite entertaining for a short time at least, or one that I could revisit at any time I wanted to for, short portions of times because it was just funny. But more importantly, what do you think of the Untitled Goose Game? Do you currently have this game in your possession? Have you played a level or two? Have you checked off all the checkboxes? Let me know down in the comment section if you're watching via YouTube or on Twitter at TechNewsGadget. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this game. I'm finding it more entertaining the more and more I read about it. I was like, I don't know why people are getting so excited about this Untitled Goose Game. Well, it's because I never saw the trailer, and it didn't connect until I actually started watching the review videos of it, that I then went and watched the trailer and I went, oh, I see exactly what they're trying to do here. So if you want I don't know, like a stress ball reliever, Untitled Goose Game may very well be the game for you. I think that wraps up all I wanted to say on this article. With that, let's head on over to the next story I got lined up. All right. Well, DARPA is aiming to make networks 100 times speedier with Fast NIC. I'll have to explain it because you're probably like, huh? What's going on? Well, probably because you're listening to the podcast. Head on over to youtube.com/TechNewsGadget to watch the video of today's show. But having a slow connection is always frustrating. Just imagine how supercomputers feel. All those cores doing all kinds of processing at lightning speed, but in the end, they're all waiting on an outdated network interface to stay in sync. Nick? And I see DARPA doesn't like it, so DARPA wants to change it, specifically by making a new network interface 100 times faster. But here's the problem. As DARPA estimates it, processors and memory on a computer or server can, in a general sense, work at a speed of roughly 10 to whatever the up arrow thing, 14 bits per second. I don't know, I didn't learn that indicator for math, so it's a little bit beyond me. It's comfortably into the terabit region for those of you non-technical. And networking hardware like switches and fiber are capable of about the same. The true bottleneck for processor throughput is the network interface used to connect a machine to an external network, such as an Ethernet, therefore severely limiting a processor data's ingest capability, explains DARPA's Jonathan Smith in a news post by the agency about the project. Now, that network interface usually takes the form of a card, making it a NIC, and handles accepting data from the network and passing it on to the computer's own systems, or vice versa. Unfortunately, its performance is typically more in the gigabit range. That delta between the NIC and the other components of the network means a fundamental limit in how quickly information can be shared between different computing units, like the hundreds or thousands of servers and GPUs that make up supercomputers and data centers. The faster one unit can share its information with another, the faster they can move on to the next task. Think of it this way. You run an apple farm, and every apple needs to be inspected and polished. You've got people inspecting apples and people polishing apples, and both can do 14 apples a minute. But the conveyor belts between a department only carries 10 apples per minute. You can kind of see how things would pile up and how frustrating it would be for everyone involved, because eventually you're going to wind up at a bottleneck. Now, with the Fast NIC program, DARPA wants to reinvent the network stack and improve throughput by a factor of 100, which would be great. After all, if they can crack this problem, their supercomputers will be at an immense advantage over others in the world, in particular those in China, which has vied with the US in the high-performance computing arena for many years. But it's not going to be easy. There is going to be a lot of expenses and complexity involved in building a new network stack. First off, starting with the hardware, if you can't get that right, you'll be stuck. Software can't make things faster than the physical layer will allow, so they'll have to change the physical layer first. The other main part will naturally be redoing the software side to deal with the immense increase in the scale of the data the interface will have to handle. Even a 2x or 4x change will necessitate systematic improvements. 100x will involve pretty much redo from the ground up of the entire system. So the agency's researchers, bolstered of course by any private industry folks who want to chip in, so to speak, aim to demonstrate a 10 terabit connection, though there's no timeline on this just yet. But the good news for now is that the software libraries created by FastNIC will be open source, so this standard won't be limited to the Defense Department's proprietary system. FastNIC is only just getting started, so now that you've heard about it and you're aware of it, forget about it for now or just file it away in your memory for later. And when DARPA finally cracks the code in a year or 3, when you hear it again, you'll go, oh, I remember something about this being said, and you can say, yep, heard it here first on the latest in tech news. You're welcome. And finally, on to today's last article of the day. I know it's a short show. I have other projects going on behind the scenes, and there's only one of me. I can't clone myself just yet. It'd be great if I could, but I'll have to deal with a shorter show for now until I'm able to get back to a regular full show. Nvidia is looking to, bring some AI enhancements to live streams. They introduced the RTX broadcast engine. Now, think of this. What if you could live stream or record using your existing webcam and have a full-on green screen effect without the need for an actual green screen? Well, I have one currently right now operating. This is one of the hurdles that Nvidia plans to leap over thanks to their new Nvidia RTX broadcast engine along with OBS and others. Now, there are webcams and software already out there that try to do just this so far, but they're mostly a miss with some really bizarre artifacts and ultimately falling short, sometimes doing well. But what Nvidia does differently is that they're taking advantage of the tensor cores in their RTX lineup of graphics cards and are putting the AI accelerators to use in several different ways through their RTX broadcast engine. So for those interested, the new RTX broadcast engine SDKs include RTX green screen to deliver real-time background removal of a webcam feed so only your face and body show up on a live stream. The RTX green screen AI model understands which part of an image is human and which is a background, so gamers get the benefits of a green screen without needing to buy one, which is great. There's also RTX AR, which can detect faces, track facial features such as eyes and mouth, and even model the surface of a face, enabling real-time augmented reality effects using a standard web camera. Developers can use it to create fun, engaging AR effects, such as overlaying 3D content on a face or allowing a person to control 3D characters with their face. Then there's RTX style filters, which use an AI technique called style transfer to transform the look and feel of a webcam feed based on the style of another image. With the press of a hotkey, you can style your video feed with your favorite painting or game art. Oh, they got a video that goes along with it too. Well, don't worry, I'll have a link to this in the show notes. Nvidia has partnered with OBS for integrating their RTX green screen right into OBS, and we'll be showing it off at TwitchCon this weekend for those in attendance who want to see how effective it is before it's rolled out to the general audience in the coming months. So if you're going to TwitchCon, keep this in mind. I want to see the Nvidia RTX broadcast engine, then find the booth and go take a look at it. In addition to the RTX broadcast engine, we've recently seen several of the top software teams roll out support for the new Nvidia Video Codec SDK. Elgato has used it for the new 4K 60 Pro MK2 capture card, and Discord as well for game streaming right from their app. The other big integration is through Twitch themselves with their Twitch Studio, which, well, the author here just got access to and will be visiting in the coming days. Now, if you're wondering, you probably just heard me like mention it on a brief blip. You're like, wait, you can stream with Discord? Yeah, you probably missed that segment in the news. I covered it, but you can only stream up to 10 people. It has been and continues to be interesting to see how Nvidia find new and useful ways to tap into the hardware features that the RTX cards bring to the table, and it'll be interesting to see how these features actually work out when they become available. But yeah, this is good stuff. I don't know about you, but I've always been a fan of Nvidia graphics cards. I don't know why. When it comes to AMD, I'm a big fan of that. I could care less about Intel. When it comes to Nvidia, I'm a fan of that, and I don't know, it's kind of personal preference and based on research that I did back at the time, and it really hasn't changed all throughout. So technically you could, I guess, if you really wanted me to consider me a Nvidia fanboy, but I wouldn't really say that, would I? Nah, I figured I'd just do a good job, and I like talking about cool stuff that they do from time to time. But isn't this cool? I mean, could you imagine? Just think of this with me. For those of you who live stream or are interested in live streaming or want information on that, how awesome would it be to just set up a webcam, not have to worry about buying a green screen, not having to worry about buying fill lights, although the lights are very helpful, without having to worry about this, that, and the other thing. All you literally have to do is turn on your computer, flick a couple switches, click a couple buttons, and the RTX green screen kicks in, and then here's you in a webcam, and the background just fades away. Pretty cool. And I like how AI is being used to enhance with graphics, AR, green screen, and style filters. So it's awesome news. So if I missed anything, be sure to let me know on Twitter at TechNewsGadget. And with that, that wraps up this episode of the Latest in Tech News. Thanks for tuning in. New episodes every weekday. Latest in Tech News can be found on every major platform, including Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Stitcher, Overcast, and more. Essentially, anywhere you want to listen or watch, you can. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to let us know if you're watching it via YouTube by clicking that like button and leaving a comment. Also, be sure to share this episode with your friends. Don't forget to double check that you are subscribed so that you don't miss the next episode. I'm your host, Taylor American. Remember, for the latest in tech, gadget, and gaming news, visit TechNewsGadget.net. Pretty much keeping awesome, guys, and I'll see you on the flip side.